As Rebecca Barrett Fox states, they were at ground zero shortly after 9/11. They were holding up signs and shouting out the words that said, "God is America's terrorist," and thank God for 9/11. Now today I will be talking to you about the Westboro Baptist Church. I will begin by informing you about the founder, Fred Phelps. I will follow that by talking to you about the protesting and picketing actions of the church. And lastly, I will talk to you about the church's theology, hyper-Calvinism. Hopefully by my speech, it will help benefit you to understand that just because you do follow a religion, it does not mean that you are allowed to pass judgment amongst others, just because they do not believe the same way that you do. So let's begin with the founder, Fred Phelps. Before Fred Phelps was a pastor and founded his church, he was actually a lawyer. As David Von Drell states in the editor-at-large of Time magazine, he says that Fred Phelps was a lawyer disbarred by his own colleagues. He was even disowned by every denomination that he was ever affiliated with, and he was even a father rejected by his own children. Now, Fred Phelps was a very disliked man, but he also didn't really do much to actually better his relationships with other people. Now, Fred Phelps in an open letter writes to Calvary Baptist Church, "Brother Wilson is a preacher, a man who left his own wife and children just to go take on another family. This is simply unacceptable and is something that must be preyed upon immediately." Now, even though Fred Phelps wasn't afraid to show his own opinions or his own judgment, he understood that in order to get the attention that he wanted, he couldn't say simple things or hold up signs that said, I hate gays," because he would end up being ignored and dismissed. But instead of holding up signs that said, "God hates gays," that would get the attention from the world that he thought he wanted, and that the church now has. So with that, let's move on to my next topic, the protesting and picketing actions of the church. Rachel Kersey, a journalist for Scanner News, says that the church came together armed with picket signs and filled with hate speech onto Howard University's campus. They were there to denounce Outlaw, a group that was meant for lesbians, gays, bisexuals, transgenders, and queers. They were just there to protest against a community that has done nothing to them. Now, as infamous as the church's protests are, they're actually very nonviolent, and they even do let the authorities know ahead of time where they're going to be and at what time. Now, Rebecca Barrett Fox, the professor at the University of Kansas, she states that the church threatened to protest at the funeral of 5 dead Amish girls. They insisted that God was the one who sent the shooter to the 5 girls. Now, as immoral as this may sound, their protests are actually heavily influenced by their own theology and their own beliefs. So now let's move on to the church's theology, hyper-Calvinism. Now, hyper-Calvinism is a belief that God is the author of all mankind's actions, only because he rules over all and everything that ends up happening. Now, Rebecca Barrett Fox states that according to the church's hyper-Calvinistic views, they believe that anybody who doesn't have these same beliefs as they do, they're actually condemned to hell. Just because you don't want to see the signs or just basically assimilate to their own views, you just won't be part of the chosen few that are saved. Now, hyper-Calvinism also states that the selected few are only those who will believe the same way that they do. The only ones that will listen to God's signs and basically just listen to their words and only their words. Rebecca Barrett Fox also states that the church didn't have any interest in her own personal life. They actually didn't even try to enforce their beliefs on her. But because they just have that mental view where you on your own free will become saved just by following in the footsteps of God. So now that I've spoken to you about Westboro Baptist Church, I went over Fred Phelps, the founder. I went over the protesting and picketing actions of the church, and I covered hyper-Calvinism, the church's own belief system. Hopefully by listening to my speech, it will help you better understand that you should not pass judgment amongst others just because they do not believe the same way that you do. The church, to this day, still continues to protest against many funerals, against many groups of people, and even major events, such as the day that they protested against 9/11. Thank you.